In 2009, Antoine Walker had made over $108 million playing in the NBA. By 2010, he was broke. Not cutting back broke, actually broke. Bankruptcy filings, debts to 5 casinos, a collection of luxury cars he could no longer make payments on. Here's the part that should bother you. Walker didn't lose his money doing anything unusual. He did exactly what he was told wealthy people do. He bought real estate. He bought cars. He bought a stake in restaurants. He lived like someone with money is supposed to live. He earned more in one season than most Americans earn in a lifetime, and it wasn't enough. Meanwhile, somewhere in Ohio, a school teacher named Ronald Reed was quietly buying small amounts of stock in boring companies. Nobody profiled him. Nobody photographed his house. He worked at a gas station on the side. When Reed died in 2014, he left behind $8 million. 2 men. One had extraordinary income and ended up with nothing. One had ordinary income and ended up with a fortune. If you think that's a story about self-control, you're missing what's actually going on. This is a story about a lie most people never question. The idea that income creates wealth. It doesn't. And once you see why, you'll start noticing this lie everywhere. This matters right now more than it did 10 years ago because incomes have gone up while wealth for most people hasn't moved. Median household income in the US has grown roughly 30% since 2000. Median household wealth for the bottom half of earners has barely budged. Something is breaking the connection between the two, and most people are still operating like the connection exists. So let's take that apart. Income is money that flows to you. A paycheck, a bonus, a commission. It arrives, and then almost immediately it starts leaving. Rent, food, taxes.
The mortgage, the car payment. Income is a river. It moves through your hands. It doesn't stay. Wealth is different. Wealth is what you own after everything else is subtracted. A stock portfolio, a rental property, a business. Wealth doesn't flow through you. It sits. And while it sits, it grows. Here's the part nobody explains well. These two things are taxed completely differently, treated completely differently, and rewarded completely differently by the financial system. Income is taxed the moment it lands, often before you even see it. Long-term capital gains, the growth in the value of assets you already own, can be taxed at roughly half the top rate applied to wages. And if you never sell the asset, you can go years, even a lifetime, without paying tax on that growth at all. So a surgeon earning $400,000 a year and a landlord earning $80,000 a year in rental income plus rising property value are not playing the same game. One is being taxed like a worker. The other is being taxed like an owner. The tax code was never designed around how hard you work. It was designed around what you hold. This is where the lie starts to show its teeth. We're taught that a good job is the ladder to wealth. Study hard, get the degree, get the high-paying role, and the money will accumulate. But a high income with no assets is just a faster river. The water still runs through your hands. It just runs through them a little wider. Look at the mechanism closely, and it gets stranger. In 2021, ProPublica obtained IRS data on the 25 wealthiest Americans. Between 2014 and 2018, their collective wealth grew by $401 billion. Over that same period, they paid a combined $13.6 billion in federal income tax, an effective rate of roughly 3.4%. Not because they broke any law, because most of their wealth never became income in the way the tax code defines it. Their net worth grew because the value of what they already owned went up. Stock they held, companies they controlled. On paper, they got richer by hundreds of billions. On paper, almost none of it was taxable. This is not a loophole in the dark corners of the tax code. It's the front door. Assets appreciate silently. Income is loud. It shows up on a W-2. It gets reported. It gets taxed at the source. Wealth is quiet. It just sits there, compounding, invisible to the system that's built to tax activity, not ownership. And here's the mechanism most people never see. You don't even need to sell an asset to spend it. Banks will lend against stock portfolios and real estate at low interest rates because the collateral is solid. So the wealthy don't sell their appreciating assets and trigger a tax bill. They borrow against them. It's necessary, but hard work generates income, and income by itself was never the mechanism that built the fortunes we're told to admire. Ownership was.
The wealthiest people in history didn't out-earn everyone else. They out-owned everyone else. Zoom out, and the implications get uncomfortable fast. If wealth grows by owning things that appreciate quietly, and income grows by working for things that get taxed loudly, then two people can work equally hard, earn similar amounts over a lifetime, and end up in entirely different financial universes, simply based on which one of them converted income into assets early, and which one spent it keeping the lights on. That's not a story about laziness or discipline. Ronald Read wasn't smarter than Antoine Walker. He just quietly followed a different rule set. Buy assets, hold them, let time do the work, while the other followed the one most of us are handed by default: earn, spend, repeat. The gap this creates compounds across generations, not just individuals. A family that starts converting income into assets in one generation gives the next generation a head start that no amount of salary can catch up to on its own. That's the part of the story that rarely gets told at graduation ceremonies or career fairs. Nobody tells 18-year-olds that the size of their paycheck will matter less over 40 years than whether they ever stop treating money as something to spend and start treating it as something to own. So here's the uncomfortable question this leaves behind. If the real divide in wealth isn't between people who work hard and people who don't, if it's between people who own and people who merely earn, then the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was built to. The only question left is which side of that mechanism you're standing on and whether you noticed before now.